Hello everybody. So yeah, it's me today. You probably didn't want to see my face but Mark's face, but hey, that's what you're getting. I have to do a string change on my guitar. Well, it's not my guitar, it's Mark's guitar, but he let me use it for the time that I'm here. I also got a Fender amp, so it's a great little setup for me to practice here on the weekends or late at night when everybody else has gone home. Because they have an actual life to live and I don't. So that's why I'm still here right now. I'm doing this video, but there's also a very selfish reason to it, because I would like to talk a little bit about my time here so far and what I've learned as an intern in a month. And it's going to be fun for me to look back in a couple of months when this whole thing is over or has gone to a different stage, to see what my experience was after a couple of weeks. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so let me start by taking off the old strings, and yeah, I don't really know where to start. I haven't planned this out. I'm just gonna, sit down and ramble for a bit. But so I've been here for more than 4 weeks now. I started at the beginning of July, and what I thought was just like a week just coming here, kind of trying to figure out what the company's doing, what Mark has in his mind, what my role could be for the company. But it really ended up just being the start of my internship. I had to go back to Austria. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm from Austria, in Styria. But I've lived in Vienna for about 5 years now. And I had to go back to Austria for a couple of days, but all the other days I was here at the studio, putting in a lot of work, and I hope you guys see that it's paying off on all of our social channels. And so yeah, one thing I've learned so far, and I kind of knew it, but I haven't really practiced it that much. Don't be held back by perfection. It really slows things down quite a lot, especially if you're trying to do what we're trying to do here, which is put out content that hopefully is valuable to everybody who's watching or reading or whatever. And yeah, perfection really gets in the way of that. Like in the beginning, I used to like fiddle around with like sound settings and camera settings when I was vlogging. And so I missed a couple of things that would have, made great clips or would have done well in the vlog, I think. So yeah, that's the first thing, and I think it's difficult. It wasn't really difficult for me, but I think school school focuses a lot on how well you're doing something, and not really whether you're doing it at all or how much you're doing. It's really about, making things look nice, or some parents, and to a certain point mine, thought that a B in school wasn't good enough and that you should try harder. And of course that has advantages and disadvantages, that kind of way of looking at things. But I do think that in a company setting, like we are, that perfection really is, it really is a wall. It really holds you back. And school should do a better job at teaching or preparing people for the workplace, because I think that's what it should be. But that's just my opinion. But for me personally, that was one lesson. All right, so here goes the G string. Man, if I got $1 for every time I said that, ha 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 ha. Comments down below if you thought that joke was funny. Right answer, yes it was. All right, another thing. I would say that I always like to talk a lot, and it's just part of my personality. Not always, but in the recent years, it's never meant to be arrogant or know-it-all-ish, but I think sometimes it comes across that way, and I'm very aware of that. But what I've learned so far is, like, if you have nothing to say, just shut the fuck up. Really, if you don't have to, contribute anything to, if you can't contribute anything to a conversation, then just don't. And there's a lot of people who know a lot of things a lot better than you, or have dealt with the subject a lot longer than you have. I'm talking to myself here. So sometimes when you think you can, just throw something out there or make yourself seem smart, just shut the fuck up. Yeah, that I think that's a big one. Like if you do have something to say and you really want to say something, don't be overly political about it, which I have no problem with. Like I have no problem telling Mark something I think is not right with the company that could be improved, even though I'm only the intern and I'm very comfortable in that role. But I'm also not like scared to tell people when I think there could be some improvements made, because I think in the long run it always pays off. But that's the big point here. If you don't have anything to say that adds value to a conversation, then just don't. So that was another big one for me. And I should have really written some of these down, but let's see, what else do we have? Be flexible, I would say, is something. I've never really had a problem with that, but it might be valuable for somebody else who's trying to get an internship, who's maybe in the same place that I was about, I don't know, 3 months ago or something, when I really actively started to look for an internship. It might not be exactly what you think it was going to be. Maybe it's going to turn out better than you thought it was going to be. So be flexible. I also think, like, I see it here every day that especially in music, and especially nowadays with things moving as quickly as they do, even as like a low level employee, which you are as an intern, you got to be flexible. If there's a job that needs to be done and nobody else has the time or wants to do it, just go ahead and do it. So for example here, Meech, you all know Meech, and if you don't, he's linked down below or somewhere here on the screen. I don't know how I'll do this yet, but he's on vacation. He left today. He's going to be on vacation for 2 weeks. And so I had to take on some of his load. It's not exactly what I want to do for a whole day like I did today, but I'm happy to do it because I'm here. I'm, doing what I can, trying to help out wherever I can. It's great. It's still a lot of fun. Even if it's not 100% what I want to do, I'm still doing it. Got some crackling. Coming back to more music-related theme. So what I'm putting on here are Ernie Ball, Cobalt. They came out. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. I'll also link them down below. They came out with these a couple of years ago, and I love them because they feel like they've been played for like 2 weeks. And I don't like the feeling of new strings because it feels like I have less control, because they're so like slippery and slidey. And a lot of people really love that feeling. I personally don't, so I use these. They're great. They also just kind of stay the same for longer, I feel like. And so yeah, that's what I'm putting on here. They're 9-46, which is kind of a odd string gauge. So the 9 part is the highest 3 strings. It's the E, B, and G string. They're from a 9 set. And then the lower 3 strings are from a 46 string gauge set. And it just makes bends easier, but keeps the lower strings a little more firm for like riff stuff, And just gives it a little more body. So yeah, starting with the low E string. It's actually a through body construction on this telly, because a lot of times you just put it through the bridge back here, and this is actually a through body. So yeah, be flexible. I think I can also maybe bring some value to somebody who's looking for an internship, because like I said, that was pretty much where I was like a couple of months ago. And that is something that I know something about because I've gone through the process. And a lot of people in the music industry have. So if you're trying to get into, I'm going to say creative field. Like, I'm not a graphic artist, even though I do graphics and stuff, but I would never call myself that. If you're in the creative field, I'm just going to assume it's the same for most, you really have to stand out in some way, shape, or form. Like, there's so much competition. There's a lot of demand, even for internships, and there's, to be honest, there is supply out there, but just from a gut feeling, there's not enough to meet the demand of everybody who wants to get an internship. And you really have to stand out in a way that's unique. And so for me, for example, that was I made an application video. It's in German. I'll talk to Mark if it's okay for him. I'll also post it somewhere or link it or something. So maybe it brings some value to somebody who might want to do the same. I don't know. I made an application video, and I think I'll ask Mark about this because I'm also interested myself. That probably made me stand out the most because, let's be honest, I've never learned, like, school learned. Of course I've learned, but never gone to school for most of the stuff I'm doing now, like video and photo, editing, podcasts, that whole stuff. So on paper, I was wildly unqualified for what I'm doing right now, but I put a lot of work into an application video that I made, and it kind of worked out. It seems like it. Hold on, I gotta get some tools here to cut the new strings shorter. There we go. I don't know how you call this in English, but in German it's a Seitenschneider. Shout out to all my Seitenschneiders out there. So where was I? Oh yeah, getting an internship. You just gotta ask. That's another thing. Just ask. That's also something that, especially if you're living in Europe, because I've lived in the U.S. for a year, so I kind of know the difference. We're very uncomfortable with asking for things, and because I think the root problem is that if you have to ask for something, it makes it seem like you're not strong or capable enough to do it yourself, which I've come to learn is complete bullshit. And if you want something, you need to ask for it, whether that's an internship or anything else, really. And don't just ask once. Like, I had to message Mark like 5 times until he even took a look at my application. And also, like, if you don't get an answer after 7 times that you emailed or DM somebody, they might not be interested. So just gotta keep asking a lot of different people, and make sure you start with your number one, even if it's completely unreasonable. I never thought that I would end up here, and I'm here. Start with the most unreasonable wish or where you would like an internship. Try it, and then try it, and then try it, and if it doesn't work, just go down your list, and eventually you'll end up somewhere that is 80% of what you wished for. But 80% is still better than not at all. Coming back to the perfection thing, like, don't get discouraged by not ending up exactly where you wanted to be. Be grateful for the internship you got. That's another great point. Be grateful for whatever happens. Like, I'm grateful that I found a place to stay, even though it's above a bar, and it's old, and it smells funny, and it's super loud on the weekends. But I'm grateful that I found a place to stay that is relatively cheap and pretty close to the studio, and it could have ended up much worse. I'm also very grateful that Mark gave me this opportunity to come here, prove myself over the next couple months, and even though I'm not making any money, so I'm not bitter about not earning income yet. grateful for the opportunity I got. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind if you're interning. It might seem like, everybody's trying to use you and, I don't know, make you work for free so they can pocket more of the income themselves or whatever. And that might even be true. I don't know. I think situation might be different in every company, or the intention behind hiring an intern is different for everybody. But nevertheless, be grateful for being there at all. Sometimes you just have to be in the room, to make those connections or to meet that person that might hire you next. You never know. Also, I'm just going to take the opportunity, if you've made it thus far in the video, thank you so much for watching. It's just me rambling and changing guitar strings, so I'm very grateful for everybody who's watching. Also, if you would like to talk to me, if you got any question about, I don't know, interning, content production, whatever it is, I'll leave like all my social handles down below. And yeah, you could please feel free. I'd also love to like talk to somebody who's interning right now. Just gonna put that out there. I don't know why. I'm thinking about doing a little podcast maybe, like Intern Talks or the Intern Talks or something. If you want to steal the name, go ahead. Or I talk to other interns in different fields. Probably mostly the creative field, because that's kind of what I'm doing. But I'd be happy to talk to anybody who's interning right now, what their experience is. Also to like people who have had interns at their own businesses, and what their experience has been, positive, negative. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. Like I said, social handles down below. And you know what? I think I'll leave it at that. I think I've said everything I wanted to say, and I'm back at the G string, of course. Like I said, if I got $1 for every time I heard that. Anyway, so yeah, thank you so much for watching, listening. Maybe this will come out as a podcast. I don't know. Hopefully you got some value out of it. If you did, smash that like button. Would be very happy if you pass it on to somebody else who might also get some value out of it. And we'll be back with our regularly scheduled programming very soon. You'll see some different faces other than mine. And thank you. See ya.